Hello, everybody. Hang on, I've got to turn on the light. This should be better. It's good to see so many of you here. Hi, Nina. Hi, Daphne. John, Marianne, Ellen. It's good to see you all. Begin with the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. The fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha in the spirit of universal fellowship, and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Sally. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with the boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. Metta prayer. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. What? Something out on the patio the dogs are upset about. So if they suddenly start barking, there's probably a cat or an armadillo or something out there. So sorry about that. So this is the third Wednesday of the month. So it's a guided meditation night. I'll set the timer for 20 minutes. So if you want to mute your computer for 20 minutes rather than listen to me, that's okay. I won't know. Start with several deep breaths. Let your abdominal muscles be nice and relaxed so your diaphragm can expand and contract easily. Lungs can fill and empty completely. And then just let your breath settle into a comfortable rhythm. Don't need to do anything special. Just be aware of your breath. Know when you're breathing in, know when you're breathing out. We'll work a little bit with the guardian meditations, and then we'll meditate on the breath. So the guardian meditations begin with reflecting on the virtues of the Buddha. And those virtues are wisdom, compassion, and purity. And when we talk about wisdom here, we mean knowing the truth of suffering and the end of suffering. What leads back to the cycle of coming and going, and what leads away from it. This is what the Buddha awakened to. And out of his compassion, he taught this way for us. And by purity, we mean free from all clinging, all of the patterns of thought that lead back to stress, that keep us from seeing our true nature, our Buddha nature. Wisdom, compassion, purity. And the second guardian is goodwill. May I be happy. May I be free from animosity. May I be free from stress and affliction. May I look after myself with ease. May all beings be happy. And just take that happiness that arose for yourself and extend it, radiate it around you in all directions. So you can send it to the front. May all beings be happy. And behind, may all beings be happy. And to your right, may all beings be happy. And to your left, may all beings be happy. And then send that thought above and below. So what do we have to work with? We have this form and this mind. So that's our resources for creating happiness for ourselves and others. Traditional meditation on the body is to meditate on the parts of the body. And there's a list of 32 of them. But you can just scan the body, recognize the body is not the self, the body is form. There's no tangible self. There are processes coming and going. And you can take a moment just to move your attention through your body. Notice if there's any tightness that you can release. Notice if you can relax any deeper. And the final guardian is acknowledgement of impermanence, specifically ours. And I like to use Dogen's verses on this. Life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by. Opportunity is lost. Each of us must strive to awaken. Awaken. Do not squander this life. So we'll spend about 6 more minutes just sitting with the breath. And find a place where it's comfortable to follow the breath. Tip of your nose or your belly. Those are the easiest places for most people. And just rest your awareness there. Anything that's not your breath, you can just let go of. If you need to, you can anchor your attention on the breath by counting your breaths. Count them from 1 to 10 and then start over. Or you can note your breaths with Budo. Bud on the in breath, Do on the out breath. So y'all know, so I sort of meditate while we're doing these, but I also monitor the clock and I monitor like the chat. And every once in a while, somebody will come in just to try to be disruptive, disrespectful. And so we had one of those today. And so I was monitoring the chat. So, and YouTube's changed some stuff. It used to be you could just report them and boot them out. And now you can put them in timeout and hide them. So that's kind of interesting. So I put the guy, I deleted, you shouldn't see the nonsense posts, profane posts. Hopefully you don't. If you do, let me know. And I hid him and I put him in timeout. I'm not sure what the difference is. You time them out for a certain period of time. So like 5 minutes. Do not. Good. I'm glad. Anyway, happens once in a while. Fortunately, not very often. I don't know how much fun it would be to come in and just post stupid stuff in chat and YouTube, because it's really easy to just kick you out and remove the stuff. But this timeout thing or hiding them thing is cool. Presumably they can continue to watch, so maybe they'll hear something that'll make them less foolish. Anyway, can everybody hear okay during the meditation? I've tried to kind of rearrange things so that during guided meditations you'd be able to hear better, because I noticed last time I was still getting some feedback on that. So let me know if you couldn't hear. Yeah, maybe so. So, I've quoted from this book a couple of times recently. I'm sort of kind of rereading it a little bit at a time. It's I have this group of Stetson people that meet on Wednesday mornings. Good. And we share readings if we want to. And so I always find something to read. And good. So this book just happens to be organized in a way that makes it really good for looking for little short readings. In fact, the chapters are very short. And so if you haven't read this, I encourage you to read it. And I came across this today that I want to share with you. And it's, I've never seen meditation. I've never seen this particular topic discussed in this particular way before. And so it kind of stood out at me earlier in the week. And I thought, I'm going to share this with you guys. So he's talking about concentration. Because, meditation, the three factors of the Eightfold Path that have to do with meditation are right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And so, and what it means by right is, right effort means being aware of what's going on in the mind and developing those things that lead away from suffering, lead toward happiness and freedom and that sort of thing, toward enlightenment, and letting go of those things that get in the way of that. So it's those things that lead back to the cycle of suffering. And then working to prevent the re-arising of things that are harmful and to maintain things that are helpful, mental things that are helpful. So that's right effort. Right mindfulness means basically establishing mindfulness of the body, of feelings, of mental formations, and of mental states. Basically what the Buddha was talking about. You can look up the 4 foundations of mindfulness and get a lot more on that if you ever want to. And then right concentration. And right concentration really means resting the mind on an appropriate thing, object. And there's a lot of appropriate objects. And we just did one of them. We did the guardians, They're called guardians because they kind of center your attention on what your goal is. So, our goal with our practice is to kind of, depending on where you are in the practice, whether you're a Mahayana Buddhist or a Theravada Buddhist and that sort of thing. But ultimately, in any case, we're looking to develop the same kind of virtues, the same capacities that the Buddha did. And so that's how we start. We start by talking about or by reflecting on the Buddha's virtues, wisdom, and again, specifically, knowing what leads to stress and what leads and suffering and what leads away from it, what leads to enlightenment, what leads to freedom. That's wisdom. That's what the Buddha awakened to: Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the impermanence, not self, and the possibility of awakening. That's wisdom, specifically wisdom. And then compassion. And we think about the Buddha's compassion really to help us develop some gratitude for the compassion that we've received and awareness that we're recipients of the Buddha's compassion. Because most of you probably have heard me talk about this before. When the Buddha was enlightened, when it first happened, when he sat beneath the tree for 7 days and 7 nights, and then awakened to this reality of what led to what causes suffering and what can put an end to suffering. He thought, this is too profound. People won't understand it. And, it'll be too hard. And then he realized that some people would get it and some people would get a little bit of it, and so he really had gone into homelessness, gone into the holy life, because he wanted to find a way out of suffering, not just for himself, but he saw where, as long as you're born, you're going to experience difficulties. And he had heard that there were people looking for a way out of that cycle of coming and going. And he, had realized that his parents, his father and his wife and his new child and all of these people that he cared about were going to experience suffering over and over again, because that's kind of the way they understood that in India at that time still, is that, rebirth, this life is not the end of everything. And so he wanted to find a way out of that cycle. So, and not just for himself, but for everyone. So his decision to found Buddhism, basically, to teach and to help others find the same path, to teach this path so that others could also become awake, is the kind of compassion that we also want to develop. And so if you're a Mahayana Buddhist, you do things like deliberately reflecting on developing the Bodhi mind, meaning the desire for awakening in order to benefit all beings. We do that at White Sands every Sunday, raising the Bodhi mind and realizing the enlightened way. That's what a lot of that is about. But even if you're primarily a Theravada Buddhist, you still want to become liberated, and as an example for and to help others. And so even in Theravada temples, you never just meditate, you never just chant, you always share the merit from that so that it'll benefit all beings, because you can't become enlightened selfishly. So you have to work on that. And then the next thing is goodwill. We chant the Metta Sutta, which says, this is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. In other words, developing goodwill is the way to follow the path of peace. And so the final few lines of that says, the pure-hearted one, meaning the one who is awakened and has, let go of all of the mental formations that keep bringing you back to suffering. The pure-hearted one have the clarity of vision, seeing clearly what leads to freedom, what leads back to suffering, being freed from all sense desires. So that's one that a lot of people have trouble with. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy anything. It means not thinking that objects of sense desire are sources of true happiness, true transcendent happiness. Is not born again into the world of suffering. So basically saying developing goodwill is a way to transcend the cycle of suffering. So that's why we do that one, the second. And then the third one is meditating on the body. So there's a number of reasons for that, or a number of kind of ways and objectives of meditating on the body. One of them is that if you keep bringing your attention back to what's going on in the body, which is breathing, and not clinging to anything that's arising in the body, that number one keeps your attention centered on what's going on right now. So you're tending not to get caught up in rumination about what happened yesterday or worry about what's going to happen tomorrow and that kind of thing. So it does develop attention, concentration, but also ultimately with practice over time, you come to see that whatever arises in the body is impermanent and is not self and is stressful. So as a result of that, you also see the capacity to transcend what is impermanent, what is not self, and what is stressful. So the traditional way to do this would be actually the long way is you meditate on 32 parts of the body. That's kind of a day-to-day thing. The shortcut way, if you were just going to do it in the Guardian meditations, is that you meditate on the fact that the body is made up of compound, it's made up of other things and held together by the skin. But you don't even really need to do that, I don't think. I think you can just meditate on what's going on in the body right now. And this realization that what's going on in the body is impermanent is what all of that other stuff is for. So, and then the final thing is the fourth Guardian meditation is a thing called Maranasati. It's mindfulness of death, basically, of mindfulness that you're not going to live forever. And so rather than dwelling on that, the purpose of that is so that one of the purposes is so that you'll sort of see what you're doing as being something that's beyond this life. And that's a whole other Dharma talk there. But, recognizing that this is sort of leading to understanding oneness and glimpsing the deathless state, which is beyond just this life. And the other is to take this practice seriously and recognize you don't have an infinite amount of time to develop your life. You don't have an infinite amount of time to live. And so take this, do not, as Dogen said, do not squander this life. Each of us must strive to awaken. Do not squander this life. So I told you all of that so that I could share this little paragraph with you in Essential Chan Buddhism, which on the surface has very little to do with all of that talking that I just did. But when you get your mind in the right place, so you understand, okay, this is why I'm sitting here meditating, then that'll help you with this next part. So he says to be aware is to be constantly in the present moment, fully relaxed. Um, he says in Chan meditation, Chan is the Chinese word for Zen. You try and try and try. You know you fail. You try again. You know you're trying, and then you relax and come back to the present moment. So this is a very interesting thing to say. I know I'm striving, and then I can relax and just be here now. Really, when I stop striving. It says, uh, he says, some people learning meditation hear the word concentration and they take it to mean to concentrate or to focus. So he's talking about diligently concentrating. As a result, they force themselves to concentrate. He puts it in italics with an exclamation mark. And you probably know exactly what he means. If you've been trying to meditate, you know what that means. You sit there and go, I'm going to concentrate this time. And so you stress yourself out about this thing that you're doing in order to not be stressed, right? This creates pressure. The body and mind are tight. Energy is being expended, gobbled up, and this creates a kind of nervous exhaustion. In Chan, concentration refers to a quality of mind. It's not attained by force or an assertion of will. Rather, it refers to our density of mind. And that's what's new about this to me. I've read this book before, but for whatever reason, I guess that didn't stand out to me as much the first time through as it did this time. Density of mind. That's a very interesting thing to think about. After I read this, next time I meditated, I kind of looked for this density. Do I feel like my mind is getting denser? And in a way, as it settles, it doesn't become heavy. That's kind of another thing that happens when you're sleepy or whatever, and you're not paying attention enough. Your mind can be very light, but yet feels denser. Says, so what do I mean by density? Think of it as being more or less diluted, not diluted as in delusional, diluted as in, watered down. It says, for example, think of a handful of salt dissolved in water. How can we obtain the salt? One way is to put a small fire under the water and slowly boil it off. As the water evaporates, the salt solution becomes more and more concentrated. This too happens with density of mind. Concentration in this case is not a verb, it's not an action, it refers to a quality, it is the salt. This is how the mind progresses. It's initially scattered, mixed up, all over the place. We filter, we refine, we concentrate. Our awareness also thickens like this. It becomes concentrated. The wandering and scattered thoughts are the water evaporating. We just let them go. I really like that. And that idea of the mind becomes denser as you let go of all of this stuff that's, scattering around. I think is a really useful metaphor for what happens, kind of a useful way of looking at it. I don't 100% agree. Well, he says something in there that's a little not quite accurate. He says concentration. He says like concentration is not a verb. He means concentration in that particular sense is not a verb. We concentrate in order to concentrate the mind, in order for the mind to become to concentrate. I just confused myself, so I probably confused you too. But the act of letting, if you're meditating on the breath, and anything that comes up that's not the breath, you just let go of. I mean, that is something you're doing. But then the quality that arises out of that is this concentration that he's talking about, as sort of a density of mind. And I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And I think it's a really appropriate way of talking about what happens when you meditate, if you meditate properly. So there's an old, a discourse from the Pali Canon where the Buddha is talking about that sort of that concentrate thing, right? Um, somebody comes to him and said, and he's having trouble with his meditation. He's trying really hard, but he's not getting anywhere. And the Buddha says, so before you ordained, what did you do? And he said, well, I was a musician. He played whatever they had, the pipa or something. It was probably sort of like a rudimentary version of what eventually became like a sitar or something like that, a stringed instrument like a lyre or a lute. And the Buddha said, oh, okay. He says, well, when you played that, did you wind your strings up as tight as they could possibly go? And the guy said, well, no, of course not. He said, why not? Well, because then they wouldn't sound right. They would sound very unpleasant. He said, oh, so did you keep them really, really loose? Well, no, of course not, because then they would sound really unpleasant if they're too loose. And the Buddha said, so what'd you do? Well, I wound them up just right. He said, do the same thing with your mind. Not too tight, not too loose, just right. So when you're meditating, if you're feeling stressed about trying to concentrate, loosen up a little bit, see how that works. If you feel like your mind is just going bouncing all over the place, we'll tighten up a little bit, see how that works. Try to, the idea of having your mind in tune, I think, is a really nice idea also. If the activity of the mind is in tune with the object of meditation, then you end up having a really kind of pleasant experience. So anyway, that's really all I had to talk about tonight. Any questions or anything? Well, I hope that little talk was useful to you. Just let you know a couple of things coming up. So this Sunday, I will not be at White Sands Buddhist Center. You're welcome, John. I think I'll be in Palaca, but I'm kind of waiting to hear back from them on what their situation is with their meetings right now. I've had one on the calendar for a couple of months with them, but I don't know. So anyway, I might be in Palaca, but in any case, I won't be at White Sands. But I'll be there next Sunday on the 29th for Ulaanbaatar. Those of you who go to White Sands probably got the newsletter that has all the information about that. Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Ulaanbaatar is a ceremony. Well, Ulaanbaatar is a day that corresponds to a month, that's sometimes referred to in like China as Ghost Month. It's basically an ancestor acknowledgement ceremony. And so, I'll be there for that, and the abbot will be there, which will be nice. So anyway, and good. I'm glad. You need to tighten up? Sally, I think there's a song about that. Anyway, I hope you've all gotten in tune. And I'll say the dedication before we close. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now. And offering flowers, candles, and incense, hearing the dharma and training the mind, great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, the 16 guardians and all protectors of the dharma and their relations throughout space and time. All ancestors of this sangha and all beings in the dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this sangha. May their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukajivino katang punya phalang mahang sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. And thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate your attention. And I hope you have a good week. If I don't see you before, I'll see you next Wednesday. All right. Take care.